This is George Washington Carver Park. It used to be George Washington Carver State Park, but now it's run by Bartow County, which is the county that this park is in. George Washington Carver Park is unique in the state of Georgia in that it was the first state park dedicated towards the black people in Georgia, okay? But the story about this place is even more remarkable than it being the park for black people during the segregation era. The reason why this park exists, and look at it, it's beautiful, right? It's picturesque. The reason that this park exists is because of one man. His name was John L. Atkinson. John L. Atkinson, okay? See, during the segregation era, there was something called separate but equal, which meant that races, black people and white people had to be segregated, had to be apart from each other. But the law in Georgia at the time basically maintained that if you're going to have some facility, a public facility for one, you had to have another one for the other race, which really what they're saying is we want to preserve white supremacy. And in order to do that, we'll say that we're providing the same resources to black people that we do for ourselves, okay? Well, here's how this park came about. During the segregation era, they built this lake, which is Lake Allatoona, right? And a large part of this lake was designed for recreation for white people. All right, we're here on Red Top Mountain, Georgia. Okay, so they had made this whole recreational area for white people called Red Top Mountain State Park. Okay, so Mr. Atkinson, with his fearless self, went to the governor of Georgia, who was Herman Talmadge at the time, which is I believe it's 1950, and he said, hey, look, you guys have your park. What about the separate but equal part? What about the part for black people? Well, the governor and the legislature at that time hemmed and hawed, and then finally they thought about this. They said, okay, we'll give you guys a park. We'll give you like 250 acres, but we're not going to help you. Here's your park. Do what you do. So they thought that it was just going to lie fallow, right? Lie raw, because this is nothing but basically woods and a lake, okay? But they didn't know who they were dealing with, because John L. Atkinson was a Tuskegee Airman, right? But he wasn't a Tuskegee Airman that flew planes. He was one of those Tuskegee Airmen that built stuff like runways and airport hangars and airplane hangars and things of that nature. You know, this man was really an engineer. So he said, fine, just give me my park. And what this man did, which is truly remarkable, was that pavilion that I'm showing you. Yeah, he built that. This beach that I'm showing you with this sand, yeah, him and his son in the 1950s, they drove from here in Cartersville, Georgia, down to the Georgia coast, okay? In those 1950s pickup trucks. Him and his son got pickup truck sand levels full of pickup truck beds levels full of sand and drove it back. Him and his son, one trip at a time. All right? Until they could make this thing an actual beach for black people. Okay? And this thing became so prominent and so well known that Dr. Martin Luther King and his family used to recreate here, used to stay here. And all of the prominent acts in the 1950s and 60s. I'm talking about musical acts like Cab Calloway and all those types of people. Yeah, they would come and perform here during the summers. Okay? So, by the way, John L. Atkinson, yeah, he was responsible for integrating the city of Atlanta's neighborhoods because that man built the house and bought land in a predominantly white neighborhood and proceeded to build his house on it. And some of the neighbors were like, whoa, what are you doing here? He's like, this is my house. I'm about to move in it. And they're like, no, you're not. No, you're not. And he's like, yes, I am. And he brought a lawsuit that basically ended the segregation of neighborhoods in the city of Atlanta single-handedly. So John L. Atkinson lets you know that whatever the circumstances are, we're going to be all right. Okay? We're going to be all right because our ancestors made it all right. And you will too. And by the way, not only did Mr. Atkinson build George Washington Carver Park, he also built a campground and housing called Piney Acres Lodge, right? And this is Piney Acres. He built that for different groups, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, anybody who wanted to spend the weekend getting away from the rat race in Atlanta and different places. Yeah, he built that too. So this was a remarkable man. Oh, and by the way, him and his son using two old 1950s pickup trucks to deliver that sand. Yeah, mind you, this was the 1950s. This was before the interstate highway system. So they were taking these back roads in rural Georgia in the segregated South in the 1950s. Just remarkable.